G'day YouTube, Ride your coffee coach here, and I'm going to give you my review of the Synesso MVP Hydra. It's a beautiful machine with brains, brawns, and beautiful design, but is the $30,000 asking price too much, or is it worth it, and should every cafe get one of these machines? Now let's talk about the looks. In the base model, the OG model, stainless steel, it's not that interesting, but add in the timber components, and ours is obviously white powder coated, it starts to get very beautiful. You can also change out the Synesso branding with your own custom branding. So this machine starts to look so beautiful. And it's like Michelangelo's David. It's not just beautiful, it's strong and it's smart. And I mean, it's really smart. So the way that they've built this machine is to have 3 individual motors and pumps operating together like Siamese triplets. So the beauty of having those 3 individual pumps is that you can change on the fly that pressure profiling as you go. From the pre-infusion, you can adjust it on an individual pump, to the post-infusion, to the full bar extraction, all on the fly at the same time. Now here we come to the most distinguishing part of this coffee machine, the pressure profiling. Not only does it look beautiful, and not only does it work beautifully, but it's probably one of the only machines, and it definitely was one of the first machines to offer pressure profiling. And that includes the pre-infusion, the ramp up, the full extraction, and then what we call a post-infusion or a ramp down. So let's talk a little bit about pressure profiling and what it actually means, because it is different to flow profiling, which you might have seen on some of the Slayer machines. Pressure profiling is actually controlling the flow of the water as it goes into your machine by using different gauges of pressure. So a regular machine will just go straight to 9 bars, which is 9 times the Earth's atmosphere. But with pre-infusion and with post-infusion, you can get 3 bars, which is just your mains water. You can get 0 bars, or you can then ramp it up to 5 bars, and then up to 9, and then back down to 5. It's great because you can control that coffee coming through the puck much more easily than a regular machine. So why would you use pressure profiling? Well, let's say you have a really fresh coffee and you don't have time to let it degas. You know, normally allowing it for 10 days, you want to use it on day 1. Well, you can with this. You can set a really long pre-infusion, have a really light ramp up, maybe don't go to full bar and then back down again. And that will allow you to tame and control the gases just a little bit more. And then as the coffee develops over the next couple of weeks, you can adjust that every day to lower the pre-infusion and heat up the ramp and push it as far as you can and get all those lovely flavors and oils out of the coffee as it develops. So we already talked about the pumps and how you control the pressure there, but this is the volumetric setting. So this is where you control the timing. So there's 3 different modes, VP, MP, and M. VP is volumetric, MP is program, and then there's manual. And depending on what your settings you want to use, you can manually program it in, or you can set it to this one here, which is volumetric, which actually just uses a cycle of water to pump through the same volume of water each time. The next setting is MP, which is program. I don't really understand this one exactly. It gives you the memory settings for the pre-infusion, ramp up, full extraction, and then you control when you want it to ramp down. This might be if you want to put on a really long post-infusion. Maybe you just want to keep running a shot. Maybe you're doing a really light roast. Maybe you're trying to do something like a spro over or something. That might be where you use this. I'm not 100% sure why you wouldn't just use manual to begin with. Gives you full control. This one seems a little bit redundant. And this is probably one of my biggest frustrations with the Synesso, is that there's no data, no manual that really tells you why you would use this, and there's no real community. So that's a big problem that I would love answers for. If anyone's using this setting, MP setting, please tell me why you would use that over the manual setting. And then the last one is volumetric. So this is what you'd be using most of the time in a heavy commercial setting, because once you've stored that, see, I can see here it's setting 2. That means that program has now set to the ramp up and the pre-infusion for 2. So when I hit that, the same volume of water in the same pressure profile that I've already set comes through so that I know that that now is running and I can focus on steaming milk or serving the customer. So the design of the paddle is brilliant because tapping it starts the shot, to the right stops the shot. Now you have the long hold, and this is where you can get into the settings. So here's manual, and manual is as it sounds. You tap it once, that starts the pre-infusion. This is the timer. If you want to go to ramp up, when you get to about 6 seconds of pre, there you go. Now you can see the pump pressure has gone up. Now we want to get to full extraction. Here we go. Now the pump's up to 10 bar, and now ramp down, and then back to nothing. So manual's that. Now once you've got your manual, then you can set it and store it, and you can save it across every head just by holding the paddle to the right and storing that. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to say that 95% of you guys watching this video right now aren't subscribed, and that hurts me. So if you wouldn't mind, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Every little bit counts. I love your support. I love making these videos, and I want to share them with everyone on YouTube. So please, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Now, you probably don't want to set up the profiles, all of them, because it can store up to 18 individual profiles, but cycling through them gets a little bit hard, and if you're in a busy rush, you don't want to cycle past it, have to cycle again, miss it again, cycle past it again. So we just have 3 profiles. We have our main blend, we have our single, and then we have our decaf. And that is set across all 3 group heads, and that just allows us to quickly cycle through. We preset them every morning, and then we can adjust them on the fly, but mostly they stay pretty stable. Now, the one downside that I really think needs to be talked about here is the fact that you can't save that data off onto a USB or any other system. Once you've cleared that profile, that's gone forever, which is really annoying because sometimes the machine glitches and then you lose that profile and it affects every head and you have to reset that whole profile from the beginning and save it to each head. And other times you might have a Brazil that you just dialed in perfectly and you've got all the greatest oils and just loving it, and you run out of coffee and you don't get it in for a couple of months, and then when you bring it back, you have to start all over again. You can't use that template to use it for refining it. So that one, I really think it could be a firmware update. I don't think it's a big ask to say, give us some way of taking that data and storing it offsite. If you're listening and you're watching this video, Synesso, please give us a way to collect that data and store it so that we can bring it back later. So speaking of dialing in coffees, this video is sponsored by Coffee Beans Delivered. If you want exceptional, fantastic tasting specialty coffee from all around the world, then jump on the website and get some for yourself. Not only do they deliver the best coffees, but Coffee Beans Delivered also strives for sustainability, fights for farmer equality, and saves the future of coffee. So if you want more than just a great tasting coffee and you want to support something bigger than yourself, then jump on the website coffeebeansdelivered.com.au. With delivery worldwide, you can have incredible tasting coffee delivered to you no matter where you are. Let's talk about the steam boilers. Steam boiler is a massive 12-litre steam boiler, never going to run out of steam ever. It's cool touch ones, which means you can move it around with your hands. However, just be careful of the inner side of your arm there, because sometimes when you're leaning it up on the machine, you can get burnt. Still gets pretty hot. The dry, soft air is so great for making latte art, especially with alternative milks. So you'll never run out of steam, even on the busiest of days. Not like my old Le Mazzocco Linear PB, which used to run out every 2 hours and we'd have to wait 30 seconds for it to rebuild. You're never going to run out of steam. The steam is beautiful, soft, silky, perfect for latte art and perfect for massively heavy, busy days. Now this little guy here, this is the brains behind the machine, and it just sits underneath your machine and it lets you control everything. So get used to using it, because you can do your cleaning cycles through there, you can adjust your temperatures, your pressures, your volumetrics. All of that is controlled through this machine, so get used to using it, because you shouldn't be afraid of getting in there and digging underneath the hood. So the accuracy of this machine is what makes it really great, because everything is so precise. And doesn't matter if your coffee is old, or if it's too fresh, or what origin it is, or if it's light roasted or dark roasted, no matter what, you can extract ultimate, great, fantastic tasting coffee from this machine. And even my younger, less experienced baristas are safe on this machine because there's so much technology, there's so much brains behind it that it will basically create the best coffee no matter what. Like, it's hard to stuff it up on this machine, like really hard to stuff it up. All right, so let's go over the pros and cons and use my rating system. First up, it's the beauty. So would I call this machine beautiful? Absolutely. I give it an 8 out of 10 because the base model is not that beautiful. However, if you fully utilize the customizations, then this machine is a 10 out of 10 for beauty every day of the week. All right, now let's talk about reliability, because reliability is probably one of the most important things when it comes to working in a cafe. I have had no problems with this machine in the last 2 years since I've had it. The machine has been perfect. It has held up every day, no matter what. And the precision craftsmanship on this machine makes me give it a 10 out of 10. I don't like machines that break down. I don't care if they're fancy and they can do heaps. I want a machine that doesn't bust during operation. And the Synesso MVP Hydra has never let me down yet, and which is why I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Okay, so now we're going to talk about ease of use. That rating, I give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's very easy to use. It's very easy to learn on. The baristas that are coming into the cafe for the first time, it only takes them a couple of days to get used to the machine before they're working out how to do the best shots on it. So it's not a bad machine to start on. It's great for the experienced barista. It's also great for the novice barista. So I give it a 9 out of 10. All right, now let's talk about brains. And when I say brains, I mean what functions, what features, what unique little things does it have that other machines don't have. I would give this a 8 out of 10. I do love all of the beauty and brains of this machine, and I love having the pressure profiling, I love having the endless steam, the silky steam, the computers. My reason for not giving it a full 10 out of 10 is because I can't save that data. And I feel like it's just a firmware option. I don't feel like it's a hardware limitation, and I really want to be able to capture that. Not only so I can see how I've made the coffees over each time with different origins, but also so I can bring it back as a template and use it again down the track. So other than that, there's a few other things that are missing, but that's because the generation of this machine is a fair bit older. Now when they're bringing out their later models like the ES1, they're integrating a lot more data into the screen itself, so you can get that data and download it and take it off site. So I understand that this technology is fairly old now, but that's why I'm reserving that number and sitting it around an 8 out of 10. And for the final category, I'm going to call this extras. And this is really relating to what extras can I get, optional extras can I get on this machine, like built-in scales, a bigger display screen, some more features. Well, this is where I think the Synesso might let it down a little bit. Because it's older tech, I think I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It doesn't have everything there, and if it's just the base model, it's pretty stock standard in what every other machine already provides. All in all, it's a great, fantastic machine, and the only cons that I would say that I would be aware of if you're purchasing this machine is that you can't save your data. The way that they've designed the group head and the portafilter, they aren't both stainless steel, which is great in theory, because when you have two stainless steel components, they do wear and one will give out. They've actually designed it so the group head has the stainless steel component and the portafilters are made of the brass. And the brass is softer, so that'll wear out quicker than the portafilter, than the group head. And that means that you won't have to replace your expensive group head, you can just replace your cheap portafilter. However, what it means is that your portafilters get really, really dirty, and they need to be soaked in chemical every single day, especially if you're a busy cafe like we are. That is something that is a little bit annoying. It's not as nice to look at as the stainless steel. However, in the long run, you're going to have a lot less problems. And the final con that I think needs to be explained is that because it sits quite high, so it's actually great for taller people, you can see underneath, and it's really hard, unless your bar is coming up a little bit, to hide all of the huge pipes and waste pipes and water pipes that go underneath into your bar. So if you're looking from the front, just, for a pure aesthetic look, and I mean, I'm nitpicking here, you just want to be able to hide those, and unfortunately, you can't. So would I buy one again? Absolutely. It is a brilliant machine, and I would buy it over and over again. I probably wouldn't buy the single group for my home because on its own, it looks a little bit ugly, But the beauty of that machine and the reliability, the brains behind it, is a machine that every cafe that's high volume, that's into specialty coffee, should own. Anyway, that's my review of the Synesso MVP Hydra. I'm Ryan, your coffee coach, and as always, enjoy your brew.